We're going to start learning about how to get our first notes on a song. So to do that, we are going to have to learn how to use some of the valves. Let's talk about that for a moment. Whenever you're playing a brass instrument, it's really, really important that the shape of your hand is very, very relaxed. You need to have a relaxed hand to be able to push the buttons up and down so that the valves move very smoothly. Okay? And if you look right here, my hand is very curved and relaxed. If you're pushing the buttons down like this with straight fingers, not only is it going to be damaging to the instrument, but it can hurt your hand after a while. Your hand's going to get very, very tired. So the key is having a nice relax. I think about holding like a softball or an orange, something like that, so my fingers are curved and relaxed. Okay? Now, where do we put our fingers? Well, we need to first of all know where the valves are. On each tuba, sometimes the valves are in different spots. These are piston valves, and they are lined vertically on the instrument. If you have a tuba that has horizontal valves, they're going to be a little bit different. Now, the valves are usually called by numbers. So this one right here is going to be our first valve. This one right here is going to be our second valve, and this one here is going to be our third valve. Now, how do you know which one is 1, 2, and 3 on your instrument, especially if your instrument goes the opposite direction? Which one's 1, 2, and 3? Well, the rule is in brass instruments is whichever valve is closest to the mouthpiece, okay, wherever the mouthpiece is, whichever one's closest, that's going to be number 1. The second closest is going to be number 2, next one will be number 3, and so on. There are some tubas that have a 4th, even a 5th valve on them. So it's important to know the order of 1, 2, and 3. Now, once you've done that, we need to talk about our fingers. Now, it's possible to play this button with your first finger, but that's really not good technique on the tuba. What we'd like to do is we'd like to assign one finger per valve so we're not sliding around all over the place. Okay? It's really important to keep the same finger on the same valve. It is possible to put this finger over here, but if we need to play this valve, then we need this finger and this valve. So we could get in a real mess right there if we started switching them up. First finger is going to go on the pointer finger is going to go on the first valve. Our middle finger is going to go on the second valve or middle valve. And our ring finger is going to go on the third valve. Okay? Each finger goes on one valve. Now, you might even want to practice this, seeing if you can just call it a number and put your finger down, because it might take a little bit of coordination at first, especially if you've never played an instrument before. If I say 1, I should be able to put down the first one. If I say 2, I should be able to just put down this one. If I accidentally do that, that's not just 2. We want to be able to do them individually, one finger at a time. You can even count to yourself. 1, none. 2, none. 3, none. Kind of like little finger push-ups. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That way we get independence of each finger. Now, on the brass instrument, it's possible to actually play more than one valve at a time. So I could press this one down, and I could also press this one down at the same time. That would give me a different note than if I just pressed this one down. So it's really important to know the combinations. One other thing that you can do is you can do this one, 1 and 3. You can press them together or off together. Do 2. It'd be neat to try to practice some of these exercises where you just practice moving your fingers, especially if you've never done this before. This can feel a little interesting, a little awkward at first. You could do those 2 together, you could do those 2 together. Now, one thing to keep in mind as well is if I need to play something where I use these 2 together, and then the next note is these 2 together, is it really necessary for me to move this one up and down? No, I could just move this first finger up and put the third one down like that. I can switch them back and forth. Okay? So it's good to have this. You could even press them all down at the same time and lift them all up at the same time. But the key is that they go all the way down or they go all the way up. There's never a halfway in between. We never want to leave the valves halfway in between. They don't work too well if they're halfway in between. Okay, so we know what our valves is. Our valves are 1, 2, and 3. We can do them all independently. Let's learn a few notes. So we learned our first note, F. We didn't press any valves down. And we also were able to get another note, a low pitch and high pitch. Well, the higher pitch and the lower pitch were the notes B flat. So let's see if we can do F, and then we can play below B flat again, just to review that. Now, those two notes are kind of far apart, and if we want to connect them and we want to be able to play a song that's somewhere in between there, we need to use the vowels to get to those notes. So we had F, low B flat. Let's learn another note. So let's start on F, and let's add just the first vowel. Let's see what that sounds like. Changes the pitch a little bit lower, doesn't it? What if I add 1 and 2 together? That's a different note as well. And then the last one we're going to learn is this 1 and 3. So we've learned open, we've learned 1, we've learned 1 and 2, and we've learned 1 and 3. 1 and 3 sound a little bit different. So let's see if we can do F, first vowel, F, 1 and 2, F, 1 and 3, in that order. And then finally, let's do F to B flat again. Good. So now we've got 5 different notes that we know how to play. The first one was F, no vowels. Second one was first vowel, we're going to call that E flat. Next one was 1 and 2, that was the note D. And then the last one we learned was C, which is 1 and 3. So go ahead, if you want, pause the video, take a minute just to review what I just showed you, and see if you can remember those ones. F, first vowel E flat, F, 1 and 2 was D, and then 1 and 3 was C, and then we can also play the low note B flat. What we're going to do here in a second, if you need to pause the video, go ahead. But if you're ready to go on, let's do it. We're going to go F, E flat, D, C, B flat. We're going to come down from the F all the way down to the low B flat to connect the notes. Go ahead if you want to try it along with me. Now that we have those notes, we can actually start learning the song. You can try experimenting and making up your own song, but I'm going to show you a couple that are pretty easy to just do on your own. You may have even heard them before. So one is Hot Cross Buns, which starts with D, C, and B flat. Very simple song. Then you repeat it. Then you do 4 B flats in a row, 4 C's in a row, and then you repeat that again. D, C, B flat. That would be Hot Cross Buns. Another song you might be more familiar with is Mary Had a Little Lamb. Let me go over some of the notes for that. The first part, D, C, B flat, C, D, D, D. That's Mary Had a Little Lamb. Now, we don't need to push the buttons down every time for the D's in a row. We can just leave them down and tongue each note individually. We can go D, ta, 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 and just leave them there as we play those notes like this. The next part is just 3 C's in a row. And the last part, D, going up to our note that we started with, F. And then just repeat the first part that we had before. D, C, B flat, C, D, D, D. And then the ending of the song, C, C, D, C, B flat. If it helps you to just write out the letters on a piece of paper, that would be really helpful to you if you want to be able to know which notes are which. Once you've done that, it's about time for you to start getting used to reading the notes on the staff. And that is really easy to do if you go to a fingering chart, which is accessible in the fingering chart on the website. You can also, if you get a method book of any kind, there are usually fingering charts in the back of the method book, as well as songs that are showing you the names of the notes with them written in. So the next steps right now that we're starting to get some sounds on the instrument, we're starting to understand how the valves work, we're making some sounds, it's about time to start getting the method book and start looking at the notes and then start memorizing a few more of the notes on the instrument. And hopefully this has been educational, helping you get started on the tuba. Remember, if you're having trouble with any one of these steps, don't get frustrated. Go back and just revisit the videos again, and don't give up, because sometimes getting that first initial sound can be a little frustrating. You might get an airy sound or a growling sound. If that's the case, sometimes the teeth need to be opened up. If you're getting an airy sound, sometimes you need to tighten up the embouchure and squeeze that imaginary tube we talked about. All those tips that are on the video should be able to help you get started on it. Once you get to this point, you're about ready to start working on songs, and hopefully you're going to have a lot of fun playing the tuba. I hope everything on here has been really helpful to you, and best of luck.